path to the playoffs. It exists. It's out there. It involves the 49ers winning 10 games this season. So that means they need to win 7 of their remaining 10. Dang.
That is correct.
So they got to go 7-3 down the stretch after starting 3-4. Okay. All right. Let's see what they got. So they got 3. They can lose 3 more games. Wow. Math is so illuminating. Yes, that's what it means. They can lose 3 more games. Okay. All right. See what they got.
So my thought here is I'm going to go through and I'm going to suggest the 7 games I believe that the 49ers will win. And right afterward, a role that should come quite naturally to you, Grant. I want you to play devil's advocate and tell me why the 49ers will not or should not win that game.
Okay.
So we'll start on Sunday. Arizona at home. Half the team is injured. Kyler Murray, you know he's not playing, right? Vegas moved the odds. As soon as they did that, you knew Kyler was out. So no Kyler Murray. I think it's obvious the Niners should win this game on Sunday.
They should win it. I agree. If they're going against Colt McCoy, it would be really bad to lose that game. But if Elijah Mitchell and or Deebo Samuel can't go or they're limited, that kind of evens things up. And the one way or another, the Cardinals are bringing a really good defense. A really good defense that ranks 3rd in the league in points allowed, 4th in yards allowed, and held the Niners to 10 points last time. So this one could be, close, which means special teams, a field goal, a fumble could determine the game. But the Niners should win the game. Doesn't mean they will. Doesn't mean they will.
When you look at the 2 turnover margins for the Arizona Cardinals versus
the Niners haven't had a hot first half in a long time, man. Like week 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. Well, I think fans can decide. I'm sticking with Arizona.
Yeah. I think it's a pick'em game, though. I don't even think they're favored.
They're not. It may be like half a point at this point, but it's real close. I'm skipping the next week and conceding a potential loss to the Rams.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the 3 losses is that we're expecting is
chalking
next
that
week
up
against the Rams.
At Jacksonville, November 21st, against a young, inconsistent team, plus Urban Meyer at the helm. Yes, the 49ers have to travel across country to go play them, but if they can't beat a struggling Jacksonville team, they do not deserve the route to the playoffs. It seems like a good matchup for the 49ers against the Jaguars.
Now you want me to tell you why the Jaguars are going to win?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you why the Jaguars are going to win. And this is just me being devil's advocate. This is like that, was it Deadspin article of why your team sucks? Okay. Why the Niners are going to lose to the Jaguars? Well, the Niners have a bad run defense. It's ranked 27th in the league. The Jaguars have a running back named James Robinson. You may not have heard of, not you, but the viewer, because he plays in Jacksonville. He's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. So he's like Elijah Mitchell, but just a tad more productive this year. 482 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's really good. And then there's that guy, Trevor Lawrence, who, sure, he's a rookie and his numbers aren't great, but he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sorry. He is. So what the Jaguars will have in this game is home field advantage, early start for the Niners, the best quarterback on the field, the best running back on the field. That's something. Now, what people may not realize about the Niners is they're way better on the road than they are at home. So they should win this game too, but don't just write off Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is really good. He's not like that. He's the truth. He is really good, and he has a running back too.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
Then the following week, we have the Vikings at home, November 28th. The Vikings are another inconsistent team that have only beaten bad teams, just like the 49ers to this point. Their victories have come against Detroit, Carolina, and Seattle. You could argue that that's actually a better list of teams than the 49ers have beaten to this point, but it shows an inconsistent team. The 49ers have to this point shown an ability to beat Kirk Cousins. Kyle Shanahan may covet him, but he certainly knows how to beat him on a regular basis. So I would go with the 49ers at home beating the Vikings to end out November.
Yeah, it sounds like you would expect the Niners to beat the Vikings, especially because they just handled them in the playoffs a couple of years ago. But this team is different. And that was, the Niners coming off a bye week in that game, and that was the Vikings' second straight road game. We don't need to talk about the past. Now, sure, the Niners should probably beat the Vikings. It's just that, Kirk Cousins is pretty good. He's not great, but he's probably better than Carson Wentz, who just freaking eviscerated the Niners secondary. And, instead of just Michael Pittman, who the Colts have, this team has Justin freaking Jefferson and Adam Thielen. So, teams can just throw the ball deep and bank on getting 3 or 4 defensive pass interference penalties a game, or just big plays. No one fears the Niners secondary, especially until Jimmy Ward, even with Jimmy Ward on the field. So, no offense to Jimmy Ward, but a upper echelon quarterback who has 2 upper echelon wide receivers. That's a recipe for the Niners giving up lots of big plays and lots of penalties.
It is. And this one figures to me to be a tough one because the Vikings are obviously one of those teams that the 49ers are competing with for that 7th seed. So that could be a critical game, as is the one the following week at Seattle, December 5th. I'll definitely be there
Let me just
at that game.
Disclaimer. I have been assigned the devil's advocate role. So I'm not predicting the Niners are going to lose these games. This is the Schuh show. He made me make the argument for these teams. So I'm just doing this as a collegiate exercise. I'm not predicting any of this.
It's true, 49ers fans. I forced him into this role to be the bad guy because I didn't want to be the bad guy. I didn't want to be telling you why the 49ers might lose these games.
See, that's the best way to get airtime, is to just make me defensive. Okay, let's keep going.
At the Seattle Seahawks, December 5th, I'll be there at that game, so that's reason enough, right? When I'm in attendance, let's be clear, Grant, that is all the mojo that the 49ers need.
Yes.
Obviously, that's not true because I was at the last 2 Super Bowls. It's an incomplete team. It's a poor defense. It's a porous offensive line. Yes, they will have, I think, Russell Wilson back at that point. But even before the injury, the Seahawks were not a complete team. That should be one of the more winnable games on the schedule.
Yeah, but it's in Seattle. And it's always difficult to win in Seattle, especially when there's fans up there. They just seem to play better up there, Seattle. Like it's a surface built for speed, and they're usually a pretty fast team on offense and defense. They usually play well against the Niners offense. And again, that's a Hall of Fame quarterback with 2 really good wide receivers, and you just know they're going to get a bunch of pass interference penalties. So it's kind of the equalizer, not necessarily a win you can just chalk up.
Definitely not.
Russell
Tough
Wilson.
matchup.
No.
The next one I've got, I think, may fit that category a bit better. The Falcons, December 19th. So far, their only wins are against the Giants, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Obviously, without Calvin Ridley at this point, it's unclear whether he will be back at that point. He's on the non-football injury list. I don't know that the story is completely out with what's going on personally for him.
Hold on, you skipped the game.
Say that again?
You skipped a game.
Oh, yes, that's the one I'm conceding. I skipped the December 12th game, correct?
Oh, you think Cincinnati beats the 49ers?
I give Cincinnati the nod. They're a tough team.
Tough take, a good quarterback, a really good wide receiver. Niners. Okay, fair enough. Okay. All right. So the 2 games so far, Rams, Bengals. Okay.
Yep. Falcons, December 19th, win. Like I said, they've only beaten subpar teams and are missing some key weapons on offense. I think that should be one of the easier remaining matchups for the 49ers.
Yeah, they don't have a running back, really. I mean, they have Kyle Pitts, who's phenomenal. They lost Ridley. They don't have Julio Jones anymore. I mean, yeah, the Niners, I can't even really make an argument for what they have going for them is Matt Ryan, who I still think is underrated. My dad gets all worked up and calls him a loser and stuff. I don't know where that came from. I think he's pretty good. I think a lot of these quarterbacks, I think it's possible that Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo in particular are looked a little bit, their perception's a little bit worse than they are because Kyle blew the Super Bowl twice. I mean, honestly, like Kyle blew the Super Bowl twice, took no responsibility for it. And the fallout is people look at Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo as being losers. That's why my dad calls him a loser. It's like, actually, Matt Ryan's really good. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to Jimmy Garoppolo when he finally leaves the organization. I'm not I'm not trying to say that all of a sudden I'm Team Jimmy, but you wonder what Jimmy's career would have been like if Kyle had just taken the blame for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Had he
Anyway,
just
that's totally off topic. Path to the playoffs.
totally
Sorry.
off.
Sorry.
I'm conceding the next game. We can skip past that. The Christmas Eve game, I think it is.
Even though they lost Derrick Henry, but still, it's a Thursday night game on the road. That's hard. Very far.
Right.
It's a long trip. Yeah.
And it looks, I mean, Derrick Henry could be back by that point, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a tough one on the road. I am surprised, devil's advocate on the Falcons, that you didn't just say, well, they're playing at Levi's and they just can't seem to win.
That is
there.
good. I like that. That's good. That's what I'm going with.
That's another one that you could use here on the January 2nd against the Texans. Come on, man.
They've already lost to Matt Ryan at Levi's once. That wasn't even that long. That was when they were good. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. And I don't think Calvin Ridley played in that game.
No, last second loss. They just dropped it.
Of course, yada, yada, yada. But Kyle Pitts is better than Julio Jones, so who cares?
So the next one is the Texans, January 2nd. I just can't. I don't think I even need to come up with reasons why the 49ers should beat the Texans. I think when you say you're playing the Texans, that should be enough.
Okay, I'm going to try to make an argument for the Texans here.
Good luck with this one.
So the Texans should win because they have Mark Ingram, who's averaging 3.2 yards per carry, and David Johnson, who's averaging 3.7. Brandon Cooks is having a good year, and Davis Mills isn't terribly awful. Yeah, if the Niners lose to the Texans, that would be bad. I don't think I can make an argument. This is pretty much the whole team would have to be hurt.
So let's sum up what we've done to this point. Like, we have gone through 6 games. I think we're in agreement on the 3 tough matchups that I conceded could be losses when we're talking about the Rams, the Bengals, and the Titans, 3 very competitive teams. Now we've gone through 6 games that I predicted they would win. You played devil's advocate and said why they may not. And I think some of those were legitimate arguments as to the 49ers struggling to win those games. Then you come up against the final game, January 9th, against LA.
I've just been informed that Mark Ingram is no longer on the Texans. Oh, my bad. Sorry. I really don't know who's on the Texans. I had no idea who's on the Texans. I don't know.
I mean, David Johnson for sure. I had to pick him up for a start spot last week in fantasy football.
Everyone's mad at me. Look, okay, now just for that, now I'm going to really tell you why the Niners are going to lose to the Texans. Because Davis Mills and Brandon Cooks are going to cook the 49ers secondary. The Niners are going to lose to Davis Mills and Brandon Cooks. Those guys are still on the Texans, right?
They are.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Okay, let's moving on.
Last game of the season. It comes down to, if everything goes as we have said it would, the 6 games that they will win and the 3 that they will lose. If you're wrong about playing devil's advocate there, it will come down to the final game of the season against LA in LA. My hope there and my logic for why we'd beat them is that I think they'll be resting starters. I think there's a high likelihood that LA is not starting all of their players against the 49ers.
That's interesting. Possible. Now, the argument against that is that even if they're like a couple of games past ahead of the Cardinals by then, there's only one bye week. There's only one, not 2. So they might be competing with Tampa for that number 1 seed. So it just seems like it's harder to get the bye week, and it's more likely that you're going to have one team that's in contention with you at the end. If that's the case, then the Niners probably wouldn't be favored. Although you never know who's going to be healthy 2 months from now.
I thought going through and doing this exercise, I was going to be encouraged about the 49ers path to the playoffs. What I'm realizing, and I realized last night as I went through and did the research, is I'm not encouraged. That it is a difficult road to the playoffs, a very difficult road to the playoffs with very few opportunities for errors.
Because right off the bat, we're looking at the upcoming Rams game a week and a half, and then the Bengals game, and then the Titans game as games that are very difficult for the 49ers. Not games that can't win, but games that don't be surprised that they don't. And so that means the Niners have to win all the other games.
Right.
All the other games they should win or probably are supposed to win, they got to win starting this week against a team that's really, really good. Even without their starting quarterback, they have a really good defense and a really good running back in Chase Edmonds.
They have to go scratch the rest of the way. Every game that they're favored to win by Vegas, they have to win. And you would think those 3 games we named are the 3 where the other team will be favored by at least a few points going into it.